When I was 12 years old, I got into my first street fight ever. I was hanging with my friend Blake, and we got into an argument as to who's better at scootering. Eventually, our argument escalated, and we both squared up to fight. Considering I was a black belt in Taekwondo, I thought 1 or 2 kicks and I had this fight in the bag. But little did I know, Blake was on the middle school wrestling team, and within seconds, I was tackled to the ground and put in a headlock. And just like that, I lost the fight. I was furious. I had just spent the last 5 years training Taekwondo, thinking I was Bruce Lee, only to lose my first street fight ever within 10 seconds. I told Blake that one day we would have a rematch and I would avenge myself. 9 years later, that rematch never happened, and I still have no clue how to grapple. But that changes today. This is Blake, and we've actually remained great friends since that fight, and I've also recently hired him to film for my videos. Now that we're working close together, I think it's time.
I think I know what you're talking about.
We have to do that rematch. But before we can do that, I have to learn some kind of grappling. So for the next 30 days, I'm gonna be training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm gonna try to learn as much grappling as possible so that by the end of the challenge, I'm going to avenge my 12-year-old self and beat Blake in a rematch.
Not gonna happen, man.
It will, and I'm so confident that it will, that if I lose, I'll give you $1,000.
Deal, man, deal.
You in?
Yeah,
all right. It's day 1 of training. I headed over to the boxing club to meet my coach for the next 30 days. Wilson Hayes, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt with 25 years of experience. The entire first lesson was mainly an introduction to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I learned the basics, like how to fall safely, or the hip escape, which is a technique used to get someone off of you. I also learned the 2 ideal positions to be in if you're on top or bottom. If you're on the bottom, you want to keep your opponent between your legs, which is known as your guard. And if you're on top, you want to be outside of the bottom person's guard and have side control. Lastly, I learned my first submission, which was the arm bar.
So now here a little movement this.
Oh shit. Oh, oh wow.
Yeah,
I see it from this perspective, yeah. Now that I have some understanding of grappling, I wanted to set a PR and see how long it takes a black belt to put me in a submission while I'm still untrained.
Let's go.
Oh damn, that was so fast. A few days of training went by, with each day increasing in intensity. And man, I have to be honest, this is some of the most uncomfortable training I've done yet. Boxing was a close second, but at least when you're boxing, you have some space between you and your opponent. But in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's skin-on-skin contact with another sweaty man trying to choke you out and break your arm. But although it was uncomfortable, I was fascinated by how easily Wilson was able to put me in a submission, even though I was using my full strength to avoid it. This is a dangerously effective skill, and I was excited to learn more. On top of all the jiu-jitsu training, I was also going hard with weights and calisthenics. I wanted to push myself and become as big and strong as I could so that Blake would stand no chance against me. But little did I know, Blake was doing the same.
Just so you guys know, I only wrestled for 2 years in middle school. I literally haven't wrestled since then. I really want to beat Brandon and win that $1,000. So I'm gonna do my best to shake the rust off, train as hard as I can, and make sure that I can beat him.
In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there is gi and no gi training. I decided that I wanted the full experience, so I bought my own gi and trained a couple days a week with it. I quickly realized that wearing the gi changed up the grappling game entirely. There were now so many different ways to control the opponent, since any part of the gi could be utilized. I could even choke out my opponent with their own gi. Although it's easier and more fun to wear the gi, I knew that it wouldn't help me much in the end, since Blake and I would be without gis when we roll. Up until this point, I had been training with just Coach Wilson. But today, I wanted to try out a class for the first time so that I got to experience what it's like to roll with different people. And I really enjoyed it. This was the first time that I rolled with less experienced people that couldn't predict my moves like Wilson could.
Let's go across my neck. Yeah, so just bend your knees. Like that. Boom. Yeah. As soon as you try to take me down, I want to kick my legs back and try to knock you down. Throw you over. Yeah. Yeah.
No. This is easy. Oh. What the hell? What was that move? That was like the eat your own arm submission.
Alright, very good. Keep going, keep going.
Damn it. Damn it.
Cardio.
I noticed that the submissions started coming to me subconsciously, and when I saw the openings, I didn't have to think so hard about the execution of them. I also developed awareness of where my opponent's hands were on my body and what openings I gave my opponent to submit me. My body had also developed a pain tolerance to the training, and I was starting to have more fun when rolling rather than feeling extremely uncomfortable. But I couldn't say the same about my upper back and neck. All these headlocks and arm bars and being tackled to the ground is making my neck and upper back really stiff. And if you've watched any of my other 30-day challenges, I think you know exactly where I'm about to go. Today we're here with Dr. Micah.
Let it all go, let those shoulders relax and drop. Good. Whew. Good.
Go. Yeah. Woo. That feels so good.
Yeah, I think you need it now.
There was only a few days left of training, and I knew if I wanted to maximize my results, I had to push myself as hard as possible. It has been a full 30 days of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training. Before my match with Blake, I wanted to roll with Coach Wilson and see how much I've progressed since we first rolled on day 1. My goal was to make it past 8 seconds. Let's see if I can do it. Right away, instead of going directly in Wilson's guard like I did on day 0, I put him in mine. My first thought was to try and choke him with the ghee, and well, it wasn't really working. But at least we already made it past the 8-second mark, so I was happy about that. At this point, I moved my legs up to try an armbar, but it didn't happen and Wilson got out of my guard. Wilson was now trying to get around my legs to get side control, but being the pro that I am now, I was able to keep him away from that for like 5 seconds, and then he got side control. Eventually, he mounted me, but I remember the technique he taught me to break someone's mount, and it worked. Now, even though I got him off of me, I was still in a bad position since I was in his guard. Flashbacks of the armbar he put me in on day 0 hit me, and I knew I had to either control his arms or keep him from controlling mine and breaking any kind of grip he had on me. We were just fighting each other's grips for the next minute, and I was struggling to get out of his guard to get side control. I was starting to tire out quite a bit, and at that moment, he caught me off balance and put me in a triangle choke, forcing me to tap out.
That was good. Great. Great match. That was awesome.
Wow. I lasted a full 2 minutes and 55 seconds against a black belt. I was very happy with the progress I made, and if you are too, I'd really appreciate it if you took a second to hit the subscribe button down below because a lot of work went into making this video. It was time to focus, as the match that I spent the last 30 days training for was now up. Alright, here we go. We're gonna go for it. We'll see what happens. Right away, Blake went for the takedown. I sprawled, putting my weight onto his back and tried to submit him in a guillotine. I was trying my best to get my legs around him to complete the choke, but I couldn't do it and he popped his head out. I also noticed that he kept going for the reverse chokehold. This man was actually determined to tap me out the same way he did when we were 12. And he actually did it. He got me in the exact submission and it was choking me out. Every passing second was getting more and more painful, and I even raised my hand ready to tap. But then I remembered that I've worked way too hard to lose the match like this.
Nice. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going.
We continued to go to war for the next few minutes. I could feel that Blake was starting to fatigue, and it was getting easier to keep him in my guard. I also avoided giving him my back, knowing that he mainly knows chokehold submissions and very little about armbars. But even though Blake was fatiguing, $1,000 was on the line here, and he was giving it his all. We were approaching a full 6 minutes of grappling at this point, and Blake was almost fully gassed out. All of my hard work had paid off, and I had just enough energy left to end this. I pushed his arm outside of my legs, wrapped my legs around his upper body, cranked his arm, and successfully put him in an armbar.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, done.
Yo.
6 minutes, 6 minute round.
Are you sure you just wrestled in middle school?
Only wrestle, only wrestle. This guy got into that submission so quick. Like,
Yeah.
I did not see that coming.
30 days of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and we got it, baby. 1 submission. In just the time span of 30 days, I went from having zero clue as to what I was doing to being able to fend off a black belt and submit a person with wrestling experience. It wasn't easy though. A lot of sweat and pain went into this challenge, but knowing that it took hard work to get my results made it that much more rewarding. But what was even more rewarding than the progress that I made from this challenge was that my inner 12-year-old self was now at peace.